Hi, today we're doing Investigation 8, which is analyzing and graphing relationships. I love to see how math relates to one another and how you can, when you have graphing, you can see the numbers in a very visual way. And it's really helpful for making decisions, it's helpful for seeing patterns, and it can be helpful for figuring things out. So let's begin. First off, we've talked about tables. Tables show the relationship between two quantities. In this situation, we have a table where it shows the number of correct answers and the score. And you can see that 8 correct answers gives you 80%, or 8 out of a total of 100 points. And I love how they have it in percentage. It really keeps it nice and even. So we need to look at the table and do some work. First off, the first question is 7 correct answers is out of, if you have 7 correct answers out of 10, you achieved 70%. And we can write it like a little mark. A score of 90% means that you have achieved 9 correct answers. And the question that they ask is, so how many points are attached to each quiz? We look, there are 10 questions, and it says here there are 100 total points. So we write this down, 100 points. Our next theme, there is a multiplication formula for this table. A multiplication formula shows the relationship between 2 columns of data. So we have the number of correct answers and we multiply it in this situation by 10 and it gives us our score. So here it gets more complicated. We have got Mrs. Cook using a 20 question table. I'm going to expand my 20 question table. She's grading 20 tests. Find the missing information to correct answers up to 20. I'm going to see if I can move myself down here and scroll my page up. So let's look at this table for answers 5 and 8. So it says 5 and 8. Let's see, I'm going to move me over here. It says Sonia scored 18 correct questions. What was her score? So I can already tell that I need to figure out what all of these tables are. So if 10 is 50%, then I'm going to fill out the rest. 12 will be 60%. If you notice, there's a pattern. We're going up by 5s. So 13 will be 65%. Guys, I hope you can fit those little percentiles. 14 is 70%. 15 is 75%. 16 is 80%. If you got 17 right, you were 85% correct. If you had 18 right, you'll know that you have 90% correct. And if you had 19 correct, you have 95%. And 20, easy as pie, is 100%. So if you get all of them correct. So now that we have that all mapped out, the questions 5 through 8 should be pretty straightforward. Sonia answers 18 questions correctly. What was her score? I'm looking over here. 18, if she answers 18 correctly, her score is going to be 90%. Liesel scored 70%. How many questions did she answer correctly? So 70% means that she answered 14 correctly. So let's write that down. 14. Each test question represents what number of points? If it says 50% equals 50 points, so let's see, each test question represents what number of points? We look. One correct answer is 5% or 5 points. So each question represents 5 points. And I'm just abbreviating, okay? The multiplication formula shows the relationship between two columns of data. For this situation, it would be the number of correct answers multiplied by 5 equals our score. Let that sink in for a little bit. Now, I'm moving. Let's look at number 9. Dinah's job pays $10 per hour. Complete this table to show how much Dinah earns for the number of hours she works. So we have our table, 1 hour worked, $10. So I'm assuming that 2 hours, $20. So we can kind of think Dinah is making $10 an hour. Cool. Our next thing, I'm going to move myself over. Our next thing, graphs show relationships between two quantities. This graph is another way to show how much Dinah earns for each hour worked. So the dot represents both the number of hours and the amount of pay. So for 1 hour of work, she earns $10. 2 hours, 20. 3 hours, 30. Don't you just love this, guys? They want to know, here is the same graph extended to include 8 hours and $80. Graph the dots to show Dinah's pay for each hour up to 80 hours. So, using our data, 3 hours is $30, 4 hours is $40, 5 hours is $50, 6 hours is $60, 7 hours is $70, and 8 hours is $80. And look at this, guys. If we were to graph this, we could see that we are creating a really cool line with all of these points. The next part is using a graph in this manner, showing Rosita and her hiking. She hiked at a speed of 4 miles per hour. We have our data here. And when she went 2 hours, 8 miles, 3 hours, 12 miles. These dots show how far Rosita hiked in 1, 2, and 3 hours. So every second Rosita hiked, she went to a small part of a mile. So look at this, every little second she's gradually going like this. If she went for 2.5 hours, is a point on the line at 6 miles. So let's look. 2.5 hours. Oh wait, an hour and a half, excuse me. So we go 1.5 hours, and you can see right here this little point. So she knows that 1.5 hours, she's hiked 6 miles. They want to know, how far did Rosita hike in 2.5 hours? So we go over to 2 hours, we go to about halfway, and then we work our way up. And we can see that there is a very distinct line right here. So we put our, we put our line, we put our point right here, and we look. In 2.5 hours, Rosita has hiked 10 miles. And the multiplication formula for this is pretty slick. The number of hours multiplied by 4 gives us her miles traveled. Number of hours multiplied by 4 gives us miles traveled. Now, with this formula, you can figure out a lot of different information. They want you to answer, how far will she travel in 5 hours? So if she goes 4 miles in 1 hour, then 5 hours we would multiply by 4. So we can tell in 5 hours she would travel 20 miles. Now, moving along, turning my page, and hopefully you are turning yours. Our last page of our investigation involves finding some points on a grid. And I'm going to move myself down over here, and I'm going to scroll my grid up so you can see. Okay, when we have points on a grid and we have numbers, we call these coordinates. And the first number of a coordinate is the horizontal scale, and I think horizon. So it's going to be the numbers that are on this way. And the second is vertical, and I think of V and how it goes up and down. Vertical, so it goes up and down. That's the second. So this is the first point. The vertical is the second. So let's figure out point for A. So our first one is horizontal. So we go this way. And we would also call that our X point. And I'm going this way. I'm 6. A is on that 6. So that's my first point is 6. My second point, I go and I'm going up and down. So I take my point and I take it up and I look over. I am at 8. Now let's look at B. First we go out this way. B is also on the X coordinate is on 6. And our next point is we take and look where this is over. It's at 3. So 6 and 8 is for A, and 6 and 3 is for B. And there you have it, my friends. Our investigation 8. I hope that you are looking for when we use coordinates, when we use line graphs, and how to assess percentages. Have a great day. Take care.